Hey, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to create a simple game. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go up here to File, New Project. Then we'll go ahead and do Basic Activity next, and we'll call this Name Game. All those settings are fine. Make sure you have Kotlin and hit Finish. With that, yeah, your name game, it all looks good to me. So make sure it's Kotlin and click Finish. So this should open up a new Android Studio project, and depending upon how fast your computer is, it may take a little bit of time to set up. I'm going to go ahead and close this other project I had open, but wait a couple of seconds, or if you're on a slower computer, it may take a little bit longer, but this should build the project, and here we are. Okay, cool. So we have our layout, and this is kind of what we did in a previous video, but I just want to show you a couple of things we'll probably just, if we have time, we'll create a simple game. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, open up Content Main. If it's not open, you can go over here on the left, make sure Project is open, make sure it's set for Android, then open up App, Java, Resources, Layouts, and then we'll do Content Main. So here's our Content Main. So let's do something. I'm going to go ahead and press on that, and I'm going to hit the Delete key. Actually, I'm going to undo that because I don't want to do that quite yet. What I want to do is I want to drag in an edit text. So if we go over to the left, I think there's an edit text somewhere. It's supposed to be under text. Yeah, so if this is not open up for you, make sure you can just open it up like that. But there are all kinds of stuff you can drag in. So let's drag in a text, and we'll do, what should we do? There are all kinds of stuff here. Let's just do a plain text. And I think this is an edit text. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it right there. And it is. So there's our nice, we're going to type out our name, and then it's going to say, hello, Daniel, or hello, Nick, or hello, whatever your name is. So with this dragged on to main activity, we need to constrain it some way. So what we can do is on these corners, or on the sides that have the little circle out on the circles, you can click, drag to a corner or to a top and let go. Click, let's see if I can do it. First select it, then click, drag, and then let go of your mouse. Then click, drag, and let go of your mouse, and there it is. So we want this to take up the full width there. So right now it doesn't really take up the full width. We've constrained it, and we can tell that because it has those little blue icons there. It kind of says, hey, it's tied to the left, it's tied to the top, and it's tied to the bottom. So however big your screen is, it'll look fine. But I want to make this go all the way over to there and all the way over to there. So with it selected, go over to the right and click on Attributes. And then with it selected, there should be this little area right there. And if you don't see that, you can toggle between those. But with it selected, we can just kind of click on there a couple of times, and it toggles to different modes. So it can be fixed, it can be, you just keep clicking until it goes all the way. I think there are 3 cycles until it says match constraints there. So on the top is, the top and bottom is good, but just the left and right is what we want. So that's good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and I'm going to go ahead and run it. So I don't think I have an emulator open up, but this should take a couple of seconds to open up. And there we go. I already have an emulator created, and I think I created this in a previous video. So go back and check that if you haven't seen it. Hit OK, and then my emulator should come up here wherever it went. What happened to it? I don't see it. Let's see. No, it didn't open up. Let's run it again. So with it selected, I'm going to go ahead and hit the run icon, and that's a good device there. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and this should open up. It didn't open up before. This may take a couple of seconds for it to open up. I'm not sure. Kind of should have done this before, but we're starting up the emulator. And you can do the same thing with a physical device. If you want to plug in a device, you can always plug in your phone to the USB port. You're going to have to enable developer mode, and I may get to that in a future video. But here we go. So there's our name, and we can click on there, and we can type out, Daniel Malone. We can type out whatever. We have our keyboard there. We can type out that. So that's all good. So what I want to do is I want to take this, and so what we're going to do is we're going to type out our name there. So we'll type out Mel, and then right down there it'll say hello Mel. Or hello Mel, yeah, hello Mel is fine. Or whatever we type out there, so cool. So we have the first part of this game set up. Or I'm not sure why I'm calling this a game. It's not really a game, it's just a little trivia deal. So we have a name there. Let's add a button. So we can go up to common, and there should be a button there. I'm just gonna click and drag it somewhere, and then we have to constrain it somewhere. So on the left, I'm gonna click, drag, and let go. Click, drag, drag up to the icon up there. So the button is just below it. So if I were to save this and go ahead and run it and go back to the emulator, you should see that. I'm not sure that popped up. Use same selection. Go back here. So this should show us the button now. The button should be right below the edit text. And here it is. So we can type out our name there, hit our button, and there we go. Now let's write some Kotlin code. So go ahead and open up main activity. And if you don't see it, it's inside of app, Java, the first package there. And that's not going to say com.example. It's going to say whatever you typed out before earlier when we created this project. But go ahead and open up main activity. And this contains a lot of code that we don't need. So we can actually get rid of a lot of code. So just, so we want to be left with, let's just delete stuff. And I'm just using the back. I'm just delete all the code until it looks like that. And that may be open there. That's kind of some of the imports. Let's not worry about that for right now. That's kind of automatic. But your code should look like this now. So delete all the other stuff. We don't need it. So let's go here and let's do something. Well, first let's get a reference to our button. So let's go back to content main and let's click on the button and see where it says ID at the top. Let's go ahead and change that to, actually it says button. We can go ahead and use that. Okay, so the ID, if you select the button, it has an ID up there, a button. That means we can access this layout file in this Kotlin code file. So type out button, because that's what it was called, and it'll prompt for something, and you can just hit enter, and then .set on click listener. And select the option like that, or if you want, you can just type it out manually. Actually, that's not a bad, let me undo that. I need to set the capitalization is important. So set on click listener and select that right there. So we have our, so every time it's gonna say, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and close that. It's gonna say, hey, every time somebody clicks on the button, let's do all of this code. So we can type it tons of code here. Everything we want to happen whenever we hit that button. So for right now, I'm going to just get rid of all of that because we don't want it. So there we go. So button.set on click listener. Whenever we press that button, let's do this. Let's do D, and we'll call this Daniel Malone, and then we'll say press. So save it like that. And you'll notice we have an error because you'll notice it's red there. Whenever we have an error, you can usually put your mouse over the error. Like if the error were on bundle, you could put your mouse there. But since the mouse is over D, put your mouse over there and it'll tell you what it is. I'm going to click on it, and then with your mouse clicked on it, do Option Enter, and that should import it in. So now it got rid of that error. So click on there and do Option Enter or Alt Enter on our Windows or Mac or whatever, Option or Alt Enter, and that should take care of that. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to go ahead and run this little app, and I'm going to go back to the emulator. And again, you can plug in your own USB device or whatever, and here it is. So did it run? I think it ran. So there, we hit the button, but it doesn't do anything. So what the code that we wrote right there is kind of for debugging. So if we were to go down to logcat and say we were to search for, we search for Daniel Malone. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. I'm going to paste it right there, and it says, hey, pressed. So I'm going to go back to the emulator again, and you'll notice every time I press the button, it actually says pressed there. So we can hit it tons of times, and it just keeps showing up there. So now we want to do a little bit more. We want to say, hey, we want to not just say pressed, we want to say hello and then Mel. But we don't want to hard code Mel. We want to do whatever name you type out there. So if I type out Deb and hit the button, I want it to say hello Deb. So how can we do that? Well, let's go back to content main, and I'm going to go ahead and close the bottom logcat for now. I'm going to hit on the edit text, and it says it has an ID of edit text, so we can access that. So let's do this. Let's do hello, and then we'll do $. So really important, the $, and then edit text dot text dot toString. Actually, I think it does by toString automatically. I don't need to do that there. So just edit text dot text. So this says, hey, edit text, get a reference to whatever is typed in there, and get the text that whoever typed it in there typed it, and say, and so this should say hello. I'll put a comma there because I think that's how it's supposed to be. But it'll say hello and then whatever you type into the edit text. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go back up here and run it. go back to the emulator, and we should see something. So we have name written there. I'm going to go ahead and type Daniel. So if I were to go to the bottom here and open up Logcat, and again, we still have Daniel Malone there, then we have, you can set your device there and the name, but that should all be good. And that should all be good. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the emulator. I'm going to hit the button here. And now it says, hello, Daniel. So that's kind of how you actually get text from that button. So I can type out anything here. I can type out Mel, and if I hit the button, now it says hello, Mel. So say we, instead of actually displaying it in the Logcat, say we want to display it on the screen. So say we want to say, instead of hello world, we want to say hello, Mel, actually print it on the screen. So what we can do is we can go back to content main. We need to get the ID of hello. This doesn't even have an ID. So we'll call this hello message and hit enter. So there. So now we have an ID for hello message. So let's do something. So every time we click on the button, we want to do that right there. What we can do is we can add one more line here, and let's do it. Let's do it hello message, and it should show up automatically, and you can just hit enter and that'll fill it out for you. Then we'll do .text equals, and then inside of quotes do $ EditText .text. So the same thing as up there. Actually, no, first we need to type hello, then the name, and then we'll put an exclamation. We'll put a lot of them at the end. So let's go ahead and save that, and let's go ahead and run it, and let's see if this works. It's always so let's type out our name. We'll type out Deb, hit the button. And now the message says hello, Deb, and you might need to close your keyboard to see it, but there's hello, Deb. So hopefully you learned something, and I'll try to make more videos like these if you found these interesting. If you have questions, you can leave a comment, but I'm kind of busy, so I'm not sure I can get to all the comments. But hopefully you learned something. We created a layout file here. We kind of added an edit text and a button. Then we gave it IDs over there, and those IDs we can access from this main activity.kotlin file, and same thing for like button and hello message and edit text. So hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.